Hello, Mark Arno. Today, it's a weekly Chinese Heritage Club meeting, and today we are going to talk about the statistics of the Chinese community in Canada. Well, you might not know if some of the viewers are like not in Canada or in some other place. Well, Mark Arno is in the School of Ontario, and we're just doing a club meeting. But anyways, to get back to the point, Mark Arno right now is in Toronto of Canada. So that I'm just gonna do an analysis of the Chinese community in Canada by statistics, as in numbers and population, and deals with population and all that stuff. So let's get started. So before we start, I would like to point out that these statistics right now are in 2001. Like it dates back to 2001. It's not like right now, which is 2013, right? Just January. But it takes. I think they stopped doing it because it takes the government too much funding just to deal with all these things. But the 2001 statistics are still useful to know about and to learn about the Chinese population. But first, let's talk about the whole community of Chinese Canadians in Canada, right? So Canadians of Chinese origin make up the largest non-European ethnic origin in Canada. That basically means that if besides, we're the largest of like white people, besides white people, like that's the way you put it basically. So basically, there are more Chinese people than black people, brown people. I'm not trying to be racist, but that's how it is. There's a lot of them, and it is the fifth largest of any ethnic origin in Canada, besides English and French, obviously. And they are the fifth, following Scottish, Irish, German, Italian, then is Chinese. I'll show you the graph in the video. And they are about 4% of the total Canadian population. So let's get that out. Okay, let's calculate that. 4 over 100 divided by 4, right? That's 1. That's 25. So every 1 in 25 people, well, every 25 people you see, there should be at least one Chinese guy. Well, if you're not living in Nunavut or something like that. I'll get to that later. But between 1996 and 2001, the people who said they were originated from China rose by 19%. That is pretty huge. That's just about 5 years. And it increased from 3% to around 4% of the total population. In 2001, it was 3.7. They rounded it up. But right now, in 2003, it should be, well, I estimated myself, it should be about 4.5-ish, right? I think, because, globalization and stuff like that, right? More people, Chinese people, should move here by that time, I think. But anyways, 86 people who reported Chinese origin said they had Chinese roots, while 14% said that they had other ethnic origins. So in comparison, 40%, the overall Canadians, said they had multiple ethnic origins. That means basically, Chinese people are not getting any white girlfriends or black girlfriends or something like that. So it really sucks in some ways, but actually it does suck. There's really not any upside to that, unless you think that being with your own race is the only good thing. But that there isn't really. It's not that great, but it doesn't really matter. So you might not know, but most of the Chinese people in Canada are foreign born. In 2001, well, pretty much all of the statistics here are from 2001, but 72% of Canadians of Chinese origin were born outside of Canada, with only compared to 18% of the all Canadians. So basically, if you ask a Chinese person, most of them would say that they were not born in Canada. While if you ask like, let's say, ask a white person, 18%, around 18%. Well, not this is compared to the whole population, but let's say most of them will just say that they're born here, right? Because when about 45% were born in the People's Republic of China. That's basically mainland. The personally I find it to be a chicken or turkey, that part of it. While 30% were born in Hong Kong. It's if you don't know where Hong Kong is, it's southern China. It's like a special city. And about 10% were from Taiwan. I have no idea. I thought Taiwan wasn't that popular. Turns out they were. There's like one in my class. But screw Taiwan, right? Got 45 from mainland. That's where it's at. Like, mainland is where it's at, man. Especially central. Central is where it's at. Anyways, 52% of Chinese immigrants arrived in the last decade. Prior to around 2001, right? The last decade of 2001. And 25% arrived from 1981 and 1990. In comparison, about 5% had arrived in the 1960s, and just 2% came to Canada before the 1961. So yeah, only 2%, and that's like barely anybody, right? But now there's like a humongous amount of people coming here, because life back there sucks. Well, it doesn't suck, but I personally didn't like it that much because of all the hot weather and mosquitoes. I just hate mosquitoes. God damn it! Like, I saw a black and white one when I was small, right? Oh my god, it bit me, and the bump went about, like, let's say half a no, not that much. It went about 4 centimeters, right? And I'm like, holy shit. Basically, and mosquitoes, goddamn, hate the mosquitoes. And everything there, everything I eat there, like, I get diarrhea. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Why? Is it because that I didn't eat that much, like, Chinese, like, ghetto restaurants or something? I don't know. But sorry for being off topic, but let's see. Well, 82% of any Chinese people, like, of a Chinese origin, lived in British Columbia and Ontario. Ontario is 47%, while the British Columbia is 34. So basically Vancouver and Toronto, I guess. It's not really Toronto. I know a shit ton in Scarborough and Mississauga, but they're really just, Toronto, right? Anyways, right now there are over 500,000 people living in Ontario. In total, the total number of Chinese people are around 1 million, right? And this is in 2001, just for a reminder. While about 374,000 were in British Columbia. And then there were smaller Chinese communities, like 110,000 in Alberta and 6,300 in Quebec. I don't know what they're doing in Quebec, but I guess their French must be really, really, they must be really good at French, right? I don't know many Chinese people that are, like, extremely good at French that's good enough to be in Quebec, but I don't know, they might be just that good. But anyways, here's the graph if you haven't seen it already. Chinese people are like a large share of British Columbia. In 2001, about 10% of the total population of British Columbia were Chinese people. And the same year, 2001, they represented 5% of the total population of Ontario, and 4% of that in Alberta. And rest of the provinces and territories, they were about 1% or less. You don't really get to see a Chinese person in none of it, or like, Yukon, because, like, they're not gonna kill whales and mine for gold or something. So that's not in my blood. Mining gold might be, I'm not too sure about that, but I'm pretty sure Chinese people don't hunt whales that often. not that I know of. But anyways, yeah. So I'll talk about the Chinese population in Vancouver and Toronto. 72% of all Chinese people lived in Toronto or Vancouver. In Ontario, there are about 500,000 Chinese Canadians, while in Toronto there are 436,000, so that's just a little bit less. While another 348,000 were in Vancouver. So in 2001, 18% of all people in Vancouver were Chinese. 9% of all of those are in Toronto are Chinese, and so on. Basically, like 5% in Edmonton, 6% in Calgary, and so on. The rest of the city and stuff were about 2% or less of the population. So I'm not going to go into the numbers right now, but as you can see from the table, that there are more Chinese people under 15 and under 24 compared to the total population. And when they get a 25 to 64, actually 25 to 65, there are more people of the total population than the Chinese community, people in the Chinese community. So that basically says right now there are a lot more younger people than older people of the Chinese origin right now. And we can just might infer that they died a little bit early or something. But let's get into the numbers right now. 33% of the Chinese community was aged 25 to 44, compared to 31% of the total population. While let's see, senior age 65 and over make up only 10% of the Chinese community compared to 12% of all Canadians. So there are a lot more younger Chinese people. So in Chinese population, there's about 51.7% that are female compared to 50.9% of all Canadians. So in the same year, 54% were aged 65 and over were Chinese. That were Chinese were women. In the overall population, 56% of seniors were women. So that basically means that there are more females that are younger. Well, as in total, I guess, not younger, my bad. And there are less females older, which is kind of weird. But more Chinese women for me. So that's always great. So basically, 56% of Chinese people aged 15 and over said they're not religious, compared to 17% of the overpopulation. As a result, Chinese people represented 13% of all Canadians who are not with any religion. So even though the religious ones were 14% Buddhist, 14% Catholic, 9% Protestant, and etc. So in 2001, 85% could carry on a conversation in at least one official language of, as in Chinese people, and 15% can't speak either English or French. That could just be, the Chinese kids' parents. Well, for me, that is they can, but they're just terrible at it. But I don't think that counts because she actually can speak a little bit. Whatever. 78% could talk in English, while 1% can talk in French. Barely know any Chinese people that talks only in French. And 6% can talk in both English and French. So basically, 85% of the Chinese community said that their mother tongue was a non-official language. In almost all cases, they said that their mother tongue was like Cantonese or Mandarin. And so all Chinese, including Mandarin Chinese, like Taiwanese, Sichuanese, whatever, is the third largest mother tongue in Canada. Canadians of Chinese origin also speak a language other than English or French at home. In 2001, 63% who reported Chinese origin said that they spoke only a non-official language at home, basically Chinese, while 4% said they only spoke another language in combination of English and French. Basically, they spoke Chinese, Cantonese with French and English. And 1 in 5 Canadians of Chinese origin who are employed seeks a language other than English or French. Speaks the language, 18% of all Canadians of Chinese origin with jobs spoke a non-official language at work. And that reminds me of the people living in Chinatown. 18% of people live in Chinatown. Don't understand why. Or that may be because their co-workers are all Chinese, so they speak Chinese. Another 4% regularly use non-official language combined with English or French on the job. So that's the Chinatown people in Toronto, right? At the same time, 77% of employed people of Chinese origin spoke only English at work, while the other 2% spoke, not other two, but some percent of the, 100%. That 2% spoke only French at work. So there are not many Chinese people who speak French, I guess. That's the way it is, because in China, schools teaches French. Schools teach French, right? Not French. What am I talking about? English. They barely teach French, right? There's barely any French stuff in China. There's some books on it in China libraries and stuff like that, but there are not many things on French. Besides, there are I believe there were French things that influenced Chinese people back then, but that really isn't a factor. And that is a factor. Maybe it's because those people who were influenced by the French back then, that's why they moved to Quebec, right? Because that's a place where they can speak French, I guess. I'm just going to give you a summary before we move on to part 2. So basically, the Chinese community is growing fairly fast, actually. In about 5 years, it grew from 3% of the total population to 4% of the population. And most of the Chinese are foreign-born. Most of the Chinese population live in 2 provinces, which are Ontario and British Columbia. And most live in Vancouver or Toronto. That's where, our layer is. And so basically, and Chinese people have the young population. Basically, everybody is fairly young compared to the overall population. And there are slightly more women than men, so there's more chance of us getting the threesomes. And then most are not religious, and most can talk in official language, mostly just English, because there's barely any French-speaking people. So the next video, I'm going to talk about family status, and education, and employment trends, and income rates, and things like that. I got my sources from the Statistics Canada, and basically this is basically me talking about it, and basically reading it from that. And thank you, Statistics Canada. So thanks for listening/watching, or more of listening, because there's really not much on the screen. But thanks for watching. There's gonna be a part 2 of this soon, because this is only half of the information, right? There's a lot of interesting stuff when these are just statistics, but statistics are really easy to be compared to other things, so it's good to know these, right? But remember, these are only in 2001, and I got this information off the government site. I'll link it later, but in the video description below. But thank you for watching, and have a great day.